Welcome, everyone, to another candidate forum from the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley. My name is Barb Hedrick, and I'll be your moderator for this first session of District 11 House candidates for the North Dakota State Legislature. We'd like to thank the City of Fargo for providing the lovely forum in the City Commission Chamber, and also for streaming this live on the City of Fargo's government PEG TV channel, TV 56. And this recording will be posted on the League of Women Voters Red River Valley Facebook page and YouTube page as well. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. If you'd like to learn more about the League, please visit our website or find us on Facebook. The League of Women Voters sponsors candidate forums to provide the public with this opportunity to hear from the candidates on issues important to members of the public, which is where our questions come from. The League, as a nonpartisan organization, does not support or oppose any political party or candidate, and the voter views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters will post complete unedited recordings of the forums, and editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of the candidate forums may not be used for partisan or political purposes. Tonight, with our first candidate forum, each candidate will be getting questions that have been submitted by members of the public, and they get submitted on a card brought to me. We do check them for clarity and any repetition, so sometimes we will ask two questions at once. Every candidate will get 1 minute to answer the question, as well as having 1 minute for an opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement. So about 5 minutes left to go in our time. I will stop asking any more questions and move to closing statements. So we will start now with opening statements with Liz Conmee.
Very good. Thank you for hosting this, and thank you for coming to watch this. I'll start with a little bit of my background. I'm an NDSU grad. I grew up on a farm in northern North Dakota. I went to the University of St. Thomas for a master's degree. My professional career, I have worked in journalism, corporate communications, and most recently as a professor at MSUM. I've served on several community boards, from Essentia Patient Advisory Board to school boards, and I'm currently on the Audubon Dakota board. For the last 20 years, I have lived in Fargo's District 11. My 4 kids grew up there. 2 of them have left North Dakota, and 2 of them are still here. I'd like them to all be here, and that's part of the reason I'm running. I feel North Dakota isn't offering the things that my kids and other people's kids can find in other states. We can do better here. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Gretchen Dobrovich. Hang on. We get it recycled here. Yeah. All right. Try again, Gretchen.
Good evening. My name is Gretchen Dobrovich, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley for inviting me here this evening for this candidate forum. I was born and raised in farm and ranch in southwest North Dakota in Slope County. I've lived in Fargo for over 25 years now, and I have my undergraduate degree as a Bachelor of Social Work from Minot State University, and I have a Master of Public Health from NDSU. I have served District 11 in the North Dakota House of Representatives since 2016. Since that time, I have been voted by my peers to be the minority caucus leader. caucus chair, and I've done that since 2018. During session, I serve on the Human Services Committee and the Agriculture Committee, and my interim committees are Human Services, Health Services, and Natural Resources. And I live with my husband Eric in District 11.
Thank you. Carter Eisinger. Oh, wait. Got it. Got it?
Alrighty, it looks like we're good to go. Yes, like you said, my name is Carter Eisinger. Thank you so much, League of Women Voters, for hosting us. It's great to get in front of an audience and talk about ourselves and what we're going to represent a little bit. So I'm going to continue the background of being at NDSU. I'm a current NDSU student with double majors in mechanical and electrical engineering. And as an engineer, the way I approach problems is to look at every facet of a problem and figure out the best way to solve it. I see running for state representative as sort of a civic duty. What I want to do is represent the people of my district in the best possible way that looks at the problems that face our district and our state from every possible angle and solve those with the best possible solution. I believe in individual liberty, and as a rule of thumb, I believe we should return power to the states and to the people, and that's what you'll get with me as a representative representing District 11.
Brad Liser.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Liser. I'm originally from Illinois, moved to the Fargo, Moorhead area about 40 years ago, lived in Moorhead initially, moved to Moorhead about 4 years ago. I'm married. I have 2 grown kids who've stayed in this area. I've got 6.5 grandkids, I guess 7.5 grandkids. I should count the other one. And 1.5 meaning that my daughter-in-law is expecting. I've served in a number of capacities. I've been on the board of the American Cancer Society. I've been in the Boy Scouts on several different positions on the council, district, and local, even as a scoutmaster. I've been on the Moorhead Park Board, Advisory Board for 6 years. And I'm on the board presently of a charity called Join Hands North Dakota, which is an internationally focused charity based in Bismarck. I've also had foster care in our home. We had Vietnamese refugees in our home for many years, and their families are still part of my family.
Thank you. For the first question, Gretchen, we'll start with you. What makes you the most qualified candidate in this race?
Thank you. I believe what makes me one of the most qualified person to run this race is my experience. I have several years' experience in leadership in the legislature, doing the job. I have leadership work experience, leading organizations and training new leaders for organizations. I have had success in passing bills that improve quality of life for North Dakotans, as well as being support to bills that are aimed at improving quality of life for people living in North Dakota.
Thank you. Carter?
Yeah. So the reason I believe I'm one of the most qualified candidates on the stage is due to a few things. One of those is my experience in Student Senate at NDSU, where as a representative representing my constituents, my student constituents, I was able to work on bills that would better our university and better the college for those constituents. I've also been working very hard this election cycle to connect with my voters. We've been doing an incredible amount of door knocking. And through those conversations, I've been able to find out what the people in my district care about. One of those things I found is property taxes, and I won't go into that too in depth right now. But by being able to talk to my constituents, I know what the issues are that they face. And as an engineer, I can use my problem-solving skills to help solve those issues with some of the tools that we have available with the state government.
Brad?
Well, I believe that I am the most qualified here, maybe with Carter as an equal, because first of all, I support the Constitution of the United States and of North Dakota, and I believe we should follow that in all aspects. Secondly, I've been involved in business all of my adult life, and I don't just push paper. I handle very complex matters that require mediations, and I travel all over the country to fix these problems. I'm involved in medical malpractice claims. I've also been involved in situations with my church and community and civic affairs that have been very touchy at times as well. I know how to solve problems. I'm a problem solver. And I've had a lot of experience as well in the Moorhead Park Board, which is a little bit different than how the Fargo Park Board works. The Moorhead Park Advisory Board has less power. But we've still had to get things done over in Moorhead for the Park Board. So that's how I believe I am, among other things, qualified for this job.
Thank you. Liz?
Why I'm qualified? Well, I think experience, education, life, all of those things prepares you to be in office, but first you need commitment. And I'm enormously committed to my neighborhood and my district. My education background makes me acutely aware of the problems we're having with finding teachers, recruitment, and interfering with our children's curriculums. As a board member of Audubon, Dakota, I'm really proud of work we've done in urban initiatives to make our outdoor spaces better for our community. I also think being a working mom who took care of aging parents and worked and raised 4 kids all at one time gives you great insight into the challenges of the families in my community and what they need in order to have a better life. North Dakota's well-being is my priority, and especially my community's. Thank you.
Thank you. For this next question, we start with Carter, and I'm already going to combine a couple of different questions here. What do you believe is the primary role of government, and do you see that as including the state government spending time on such issues as critical race theory, transgender issues, banning cities from having plastic bag bans, or banning cities from mask mandates?
Well, that's a lot of questions to answer in one, so I guess I'll have to answer in such a blanket of form as well. I believe that the government has many different levels. There's the federal level of government, the state level, the county, and even the local. I believe each level of government should have different areas in which they have control over. So a few of those, maybe the state government's place isn't to regulate those things, but maybe it's the place of the county or city government. Overall, my policy is individual liberty. I want people to have as much liberty to do what they can as possible, as long as it doesn't involve hurting another person.
Thank you. Brad?
Yeah, that's a big chunk to respond to. The purpose of government, we are told in the Constitution, is to protect our rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and governments were created to protect those rights. That's the first principle of government. Everything else is subservient to that. And I don't believe the government should take care of our every need. I do think the government has a role in our lives, and it could be and should be a positive role. Critical race theory, I find that disturbing because I believe that all men are created equal, and women, and I don't see a need to divide by racial boundaries. I want us to join hands, as that one charity is that I'm involved with, and to be sons and daughters of God together and not fight each other over trivial things like race. As far as other items that were mentioned there.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I think other items that are mentioned there, it can be addressed one by one, but they all go back down to personal freedom and personal liberty. That's one of my major planks as well, is liberty, life liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Liz?
Personal freedom, unless you're a woman in North Dakota. Government is not business. Government is government, and it's there to serve the people, not to make money. We have $8 billion in our legacy fund, and we have needs in North Dakota that aren't being met. So I feel our government needs to get out of business and into the part of being a good governing body. Cities should self-determine if they want plastic bags, if they want to recycle, whatever they want to do. The state should not be dictating to our cities. I'm missing the rest of the questions. What else was there? Oh, CRT does not exist in North Dakota, and yet we have wasted time, energy, and money in order to pass a law against it. We may as well have a law against pigs flying, and then maybe get a phone that we can phone in and say, I've seen pigs flying in North Dakota. It simply doesn't exist, and the fact that we've wasted time on it is really sad.
Gretchen?
So the primary role of government, each level of government, federal, state, local, county, tribal, has its own role, and they all work in tandem. Ultimately, I believe in self-determination and local control. And throughout my history as a legislator, I have seen multiple times where local control has been taken away, where the state has, the supermajority in the state has made decisions that impact us on the individual level within our communities. And I've seen where the federal government has done the same thing. And so to me, it's really important to be focusing on self-determination and local control. As far as banning the ban on plastic bags, that's an example of lack of local control. That should be up to communities whether they want to do that, not the state. As far as critical race theory, again,
Finish your thought.
a lot of time and energy that could have been spent focusing on real North Dakota issues was wasted on a boogeyman that does not exist in our public school system, K through 12.
Thank you. Next question. I'm again got multiple cards here. I'm going to try to put together a little bit. I think this will be a little bit easier to put together. It was Brad. We start with you. What will you do to prevent gun violence in our state? Would you support common sense gun laws, including red flag laws, as among the things to reduce gun violence?
Well, first of all, there's no way that we can stop gun violence. Let's just be real honest about it. We can reduce it, but it's not going to stop. Even countries that supposedly ban guns have gun violence. So the question is, what do we do with what we have? I'm a supporter of the right to bear arms. I'm a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. And North Dakota has a very low gun violence rate. Our murder rate, we had like 32 murders in the state. That's 32 too many. But only half of those were guns. Half of those involved guns. So we are 13th from the bottom of violence. Many states are much worse than we are. So I don't see that as a major problem. We have the right to keep and bear arms. And red flag laws have one major problem, and that is that a judge with limited information can take our guns away. I believe that we should have the right to keep and bear arms, and if there's a process to take some gun away from somebody, if they're a felon or if they are known to be mentally disturbed, that's one thing. But just because they may have a gun in the house and had an argument with their wife or their sibling or a neighbor should not be a basis to have guns taken away.
Thank you. Liz?
I'm a gun owner. I have hunted since I was a little girl on a farm. We have guns in our house. They're locked up. They're treated responsibly. But yet I support some sort of control over guns. Red flag laws are great. If they can prevent someone from being injured or killed by a gun, they are certainly worth using. And I don't think a judge takes that lightly when he makes that decision. We also should be able to control who's buying the guns. And I would even go a step further and say registering guns is not a bad idea. But most importantly, I think we need training. I was trained when I was young on gun safety. I think gun safety is hugely important, and anyone who buys a gun should know how to use it correctly and how to store it correctly.
Thank you. Gretchen?
I too am in support of the Second Amendment. I have no issues with it. Interestingly, when it was written, the only guns available to us were muskets. And so when that law was written, it wasn't written for what we're experiencing now. I do support red flag laws. Violence against women is a public health epidemic in the United States, and women are very often the victims of gun violence. And with red flag laws, there is total due process by the judiciary system, so guns are not just automatically taken away. I've also lost people that I love in my life who've taken their own life using firearms. And so that's another opportunity for us to save lives with red flag laws. I'm in favor of background checks. We have to have background checks. I'd have one to be a foster parent when I was a foster parent. So I think there's no reason for us not to increase background checks, particularly when a large percentage of guns are sold at gun shows where background checks don't occur.
Carter?
So the Constitution, both of the United States and of North Dakota, is the foremost governing document that defines the government, the structure of those government entities. A very critical part of both of those constitutions is the right to keep and bear arms. As such, if the government were to break this contract, they're illegitimate. I don't believe there's any reason why the government should be allowed to infringe upon that right. Sure, people can go and take gun safety classes. I've done so myself, and I think it's a great idea. But should the government mandate it? I don't think so. When both the Second Amendment and the Constitution of North Dakota were created, the people that wrote those documents understood the value of populace that is allowed to carry weapons, whether that's for hunting or for protecting yourself. I believe that's one of the biggest reasons why North Dakota has a very large, or very small percentage of gun-related violence, is because of the threat of others who will protect those who are unarmed and will protect themselves. I believe that is the key as to why we don't have more gun violence. So no, I don't want to take away more guns.
Thank you. Next question, we start back in with Liz. How do you propose fixing childcare access and cost problems in North Dakota?
Well, that's a big one. Childcare is a huge problem, and it's not just childcare, it's an economic problem for North Dakota. We know we have to have childcare in order for the parents to go to work and be productive. I think we need to somehow provide supplemental pay for the people who work in childcare. We need to have some sort of scholarships or some sort of education program to train people who work in childcare. And we need to value those people that are working in childcare. $11 an hour, they can get anywhere else. And most of the people that work in childcare are committed to kids. So that's a part of it. We need to respect and expand the opportunities for people to work in childcare.
Thank you. Gretchen?
Thank you for the question. Childcare is one of the issues that I hear frequently from the people that I work for in District 11. And in looking at how childcare costs and lack of childcare access are addressed in other parts of the country as well as in other countries, it boils down to either subsidizing the childcare providers or a subsidy to parents to be able to provide that childcare. There are no other models that I've been able to find that have been successful. One thought that I do have is the facilitation of community-based services, bringing community members together in their communities to identify solutions within their own community. One of the things that I've learned working with people to solve issues that are community-wide is that solutions are in the community. They're not always in Bismarck. They're not always in Washington, D.C. They're not always in this chamber that we're in right now. And when we can bring people together and facilitate those conversations, people can come up with their own solutions as well.
Thank you. Carter?
So I think this is a great question because I don't have children myself, but from what I understand, this is a huge issue that a lot of people face. And I think there's a lot of different ways to attack this problem. I don't think the best method is to immediately throw money at a problem. What I want to do as your elected representative is look at this problem from every possible angle. Is it regulations that are overbearing? Is it different requirements that a childcare business has to meet in order to provide childcare? Why are people not going into childcare? Do they not enjoy working with children, or is it the pay? It could be any of these problems, and I don't know that I've seen a one-size-fits-all solution to this. Usually when the government says they have a one-size-fits-all solution, it's probably not going to solve any of the problem it's trying to solve. I have a sister who actually works in the childcare industry on the other side of the river, and although that's not the same as North Dakota, from what I understand, it's very difficult to start a childcare business and to keep it running, and that could be part of the reason why it's really difficult to find affordable childcare.
Thank you. Brad?
Well, there are a lot of hoops to jump through to start up a childcare business. I spent some time just recently talking to a person who's in our district who runs a daycare in her home, and we went over a lot of the problems, a lot of the concerns, and we came to one very obvious conclusion, and that is there's no easy answer. Part of the problem is the general workforce issues that we have due to the economic problems we have as a result of what's happened in Washington the last few years. That's part of the problem. That's not the entire problem. Part of the problem is lack of proper pay for the workers, but a lot of daycare workers don't have employees. The person I talked to has, I think, 7 kids, she said, in her daycare, and she doesn't have any employees. So employment isn't necessarily the issue either, but it's a multifaceted issue. It's going to require multifaceted solutions. I'll be honest with you, I don't have a solution for it, but I think we can work together on different levels and help to solve the issue.
Thank you. Next question, the fifth one, we start with Gretchen. What are your views on term limits for North Dakota Legislature and why?
I believe we already have term limits with elections every 4 years. And our government in the United States and in our state and our local level is designed to be a government by the people, for the people, and by people engaging in their government, we will have term limits.
Thank you. Carter?
In November, there's actually going to be a measure on the ballot to determine exactly this. So I'm really looking to see what the people of North Dakota decide whether to have term limits or not. I think no matter what my opinion is, I'm not even entirely sure. I want what the people in my district want, and I'm happy to let them show up to the polls and tell me exactly the way they want me to vote on that issue or to think on that issue.
Brad?
I was going to mention the same thing, and this is going to be on the ballot, and so this really isn't an issue that we have, as legislators, have any input on, other than maybe the bully pulpit. But nonetheless, I actually tend to agree with Ms. Dobrovich. I think that the people should be the people that term limit people in government. However, we do have term limits on the President of the United States. Other states have had term limits. I don't view this as a major issue either way. I think North Dakota is going to keep working and doing fine without it. I tend to lean toward being in favor of not having term limits, but I don't have strong feelings on this either way. Ideally, the people will term limit the legislators who need to be term limited.
Thank you. Liz?
I agree with Gretchen as well. Voters need to show up in order to enforce term limits, though. So I think we could have better civic outreach, better engagement, better education to get more of our citizens to vote. And then maybe term limits won't be talked about so much.
Thank you. Got another question about one of the initiated measures. We'll start with that one with Carter. What are your views on legalizing marijuana in North Dakota and why?
Yeah, thank you. So I think this question squarely falls into the category of individual liberty. My policy is if it's something that's not hurting someone else and it's not something you necessarily actively need to be stopped from doing yourself in order to do that, I'm not opposed to it. Again, this isn't something that's going to be coming up in the legislature because this is something that's on the ballot this November. If the people decide they want to legalize marijuana, all right, that's on the people to decide that. If the people decide that they don't want to legalize marijuana, all right, we as a state have decided. So, thank you.
Brad?
I agree with Carter. I'm all for personal liberty and freedom. I have never used marijuana. I don't ever intend to use marijuana. I don't use alcohol, but I don't want to outlaw alcohol because it causes so much crime in our country. If you want to get rid of violence, get rid of alcohol, not guns. Alcohol is the root of so much evil in this society. I've talked to a prosecutor and said he'd be out of a job if it wasn't for alcohol. Now, again, I'm not advocating making alcohol illegal, but I'm saying there's a double standard between marijuana and alcohol. If somebody wants to use marijuana, it's okay with me. Just don't do something stupid and legal in the process. Thank you.
Liz?
I support legalizing marijuana. It's in our state. It's here, and we're getting no revenue from it being here. It's frankly going to other states. If we do pass the initiated measure, I believe the state should regulate it so that it's safe, so that it's well marketed, so that it's labeled. And we should look to other states because the other states that have legalized marijuana have already gone through the problems of making it legal. And I think we have a lot to learn from them. And I especially think that the tax revenue that's projected would be a great benefit to North Dakota. So yeah, I'm for it.
Thank you. Gretchen?
I am a big fan of the initiated measure process in North Dakota. It allows the citizens of North Dakota to voice their beliefs about large issues that we are facing as citizens in North Dakota. So I am happy that this is on going to be on our ballots again. I am in support of the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. One of the advantages I see is that there has been challenges in the medical marijuana system in North Dakota, where many people who would be eligible have not been able to get their cards due to preconceived notions by the medical system. And it would also be economic growth for our state. And as Liz said, it's already here. People are going to other states and purchasing it. And so North Dakota is missing out on the opportunity to regulate its use in the state as well as tax its use in the state.
Thank you. Next question, we start with Brad. Does public education in North Dakota work? What needs to change? And does that include the legislature acting to address the teacher shortage?
Well, again, the teacher shortage is a subset of, to some extent, a subset of the national labor problems that we have. Restaurants close because there aren't enough workers, factories close because there aren't enough workers, and we're short of school teachers as well. I'm a big proponent of homeschooling. I'm a big proponent of cooperative schooling, which I understand is not appropriate, illegal in North Dakota. I am in favor of that. Let people band together and educate their children. That would take some pressure off of the public school system. I think we have a good public school system overall. Certainly it can be improved. Everything in the state can be improved. Everything in our lives can be improved. But we have a good system, but I think we should expand it and have all options on the table. I don't think throwing money at it is the solution to the problem. And if we do throw money at it, where's the money going to come from? It's not the legacy fund, because that's set aside and earmarked wisely for future use. We can tap into it, but we don't want to just get into the legacy fund and throw money around because it's there.
Thank you. Liz?
Wait, what was the question again?
Does public education in North Dakota work? What needs to change? Does that include the legislature acting to address the teacher shortage?
Yes, it works. 4 of my kids went to school here. They're happy, great, well-educated adults. The problem is that our education is going downhill. We're ranked 25th in the nation as far as quality education. And we can do better than that. And yes, we do have to put some money into it. Teachers are leaving. We have like 120 teacher vacancies. There's schools that aren't teaching advanced math and other advanced classes because they can't find teachers. Teachers don't have benefits that they need. And we need to make their teaching profession competitive in North Dakota in order to make our education quality. And we also need to get our legislature out of education by mandating what can and cannot be researched in our higher ed institutions. We have lost research funding. So yes, we need to support K through 12 and our higher ed, and we need to keep dictating what can and can't be taught.
Thank you. Gretchen?
I do believe that our K through 12 public education works in North Dakota. I am a little biased. I'm a graduate of that system, and my husband teaches in that system. I do also believe in choice. We do have private schools that if people choose to go to, they can send their children to private schools in North Dakota. And if people want to homeschool, they have that opportunity to homeschool as well. So people do have choice in North Dakota. As far as the challenges that our education system is facing, when I visit with teachers, one of the biggest issues is the mental health of students and the behavioral health of students, and that the schools aren't fully equipped to manage that because teachers are trying to teach and manage behavior and mental illness at the same time. And so providing resources for our schools would be very helpful. One of the other pieces that I hear from educators is that students aren't coming to school ready to learn and ready to participate. And part of that is related to mental health and behavioral issues as well, and lack of preschool and childcare.
Thank you. Carter?
Yeah, so like my running mate Brad said, I definitely think there's room for improvement, as there are with most things in our great state. Not everyone knows this, but there's actually a provision in the North Dakota State Constitution that calls for the legislature to provide a free system of education. K through 12, of course, doesn't have to be free beyond that. So I do believe it is important for the legislature in North Dakota to ensure that these public schools are being taken care of. Now, how do we solve that problem? Well, that's a big question. I told you earlier that as an engineer, I need to look at a problem from a lot of different angles. Don't just throw a single solution at it. Is the solution money? Maybe that would help. Sometimes that causes issues. Is the problem that we need to get parents more involved? maybe that's it. There could be a lot of different ways to help solve this problem, and in fact, maybe we have to use many of those solutions together. So in a nutshell, yes, I think there could be improvements. Is the state legislature mandated to do that? Yes, but the exact method might be many and varied, and it's probably not just to throw money at it.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start again with Liz, and I'm going to read this as it's written. When it says mine, it's not referring to me. Okay? My property taxes are steadily increasing, proportionally more than the value of my home. What thoughts do you have on managing this?
Well, there's been a proposal submitted to lower property taxes by the state funding more of local education. And I think that's a great idea because we have taken away funding, and that's why property taxes go up, mostly is to fund schools. So with the state kicking in more again, your property taxes should go down. And that I also think that people on fixed incomes should have some sort of property tax freeze or rebate, or especially lower income people, so that they can stay in their homes.
Gretchen?
I would agree with Liz. I think that a property tax rebate or a property tax freeze for people living under a certain income would be really helpful to low income and older adults in North Dakota. Also, the legislature honoring its obligations to fund schools, social services, and many of the other things that we are constitutionally bound to fund will help cut property taxes by cities and communities not having to make up that difference by increasing their property taxes.
Thank you. Carter?
So when I first decided I would run for office, the first two issues that I thought to run on, one was protecting the integrity of our Constitution, and number two was reducing taxes, specifically property taxes. And so as I've gotten to meet people in our district, we've had a number of meet and greets, we've gone door to door. I have talked to many people. It's actually the most common issue I've encountered is people that are concerned about their property taxes. So yes, as your representative, I absolutely want to figure out ways to lower those. So imagine my surprise when halfway through the campaign trail, I've discovered that there were some legislators in Bismarck who decided to actually put this proposal, together into a proposal. So that is something that once I've seen the bill and make sure I agree with it, it's something I will wholeheartedly support.
Thank you. Brad?
Yes, I agree as well. As I've been door to door talking with people, almost everyone that has a conversation, some people just go to the door and say hi and that's it. But when the conversation comes up, property tax is always first, almost always first on their mind. And secondly, is a concern, dare I even say a fear of special assessments. Those two things need to be addressed. And I am, like Carter, I would be looking with favorable eyes upon a bill that in some way was able to transfer funds around so that the property taxes would be under control. I would not be against a cap when somebody retires at a certain age on capping their property tax so it doesn't go up. This is a real problem. I also believe that state and local governments overall should be more efficient so they use the monies wisely so that taxes don't have to go up. I know that a lot of effort goes into that happening, but I think that's a real key point is making local governments more efficient so that the taxes can stay somewhat lower.
Okay, we're going to do one more question before we go to closing statements. Homeless, and we will, let's see, we start with Gretchen. Homelessness is growing in North Dakota. What can the legislature do to deal with this problem?
Thank you for the question regarding homelessness and how the state legislature can address the issue. I believe in the dignity and worth of all people, especially those who are living here in North Dakota that I work for. And so finding solutions for homelessness is really important to me. Part of the issue is working on a state and local level to find solutions for affordable housing. We have housing going up all the time in our community, but it isn't affordable housing. And so people who are working at minimum wage or just above minimum wage aren't able to access housing without working multiple jobs. And I also think that we need to find a way to increase the number of mental health practitioners. We have money and we have systems in place to deliver behavioral health services across North Dakota. What we don't have is practitioners. And so finding solutions to get practitioners here in North Dakota would be very helpful. And there's a variety of different ways we can do that.
Thank you, Carter.
Yeah, out of all the problems that we've discussed so far, homelessness might very well be one of the most nuanced ones with many, many reasons. I would say they've got a different reason for every individual who experiences something like that. There are organizations such as the New Life Center that do a lot of work to help solve these problems. And one thing that organizations like them and others have discovered, such as in San Diego, is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Some of it involves money, some of it involves going to people and helping them understand how to get a job, how to keep jobs like that, how to become educated so they can potentially get a better job. That doesn't apply to everyone, but the point is that there's so many different solutions that, yes, I think there are things the state legislature can do to address it, but one of them is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Brad?
Yeah, I again agree with Carter. This is a multifaceted problem that cannot be easily solved, and throwing money at it in and of itself is not going to solve it. We do need more counselors, and not necessarily just professional counselors, but maybe mentors from the community. Reach out to retired people and people that are willing to help out and teach someone how to properly dress and wear the proper clothes for a job interview, and to teach them how to handle money. We have alcohol dependency as a major issue in homelessness and drug use. These can all be addressed in various ways, but we can't just build homes and say we've solved the problem. That's been shown to be a failure in other cities. But getting the counseling along the way, providing them a method to get into the workforce, to start getting some money, to get ahead, that's what we need to strive for, is to help people become more independent and more self-sufficient. It is not an overnight event, it's a process. So with that, my time is up, and I'll give it back to you.
Thank you. Liz?
First and foremost with the homeless population is we need to make sure they're safe. And that means getting them into a house where there's food, clothing, shelter. Once they're safe, then we need those resources available, mental health resources, veterans resources, kids. We have 1,200 people on any given night in Fargo that are without homes, and about half of those are children. They are not learning. You can't go to school when you don't know where you're going to be the next night. So we need to provide the resources from a state level and let the communities use those resources and figure out what's the best approach. And yes, there'll be many different approaches, but we need to support that because homelessness is not going to just go away.
Thank you. This concludes the question and answer portion of this forum. I want to thank all the candidates for participating, for all the audience members for submitting questions. Thank you to our league volunteers who've been collecting questions and timing for us, as well as a City of Fargo employee who's running the cameras. I would like to encourage all of you to learn more about your candidates, and to help you with this, the League of Women Voters is partnering with the Forum Communications to present vote411.org. This is a voter's guide available for races across North Dakota, and you can learn more about candidates' positions and descriptions of the two ballot initiatives that are also up for vote statewide. You can go to vote411.org or look for the voter's guide on any Forum Communication news website. So starting with closing statements, again, 1 minute, and Carter, you get to go first.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on and all the volunteers. It's really good to be able to get out here and just talk in a fashion that allows us to compare what we believe to our voters. Just want to reiterate again that I look at this as sort of a civic duty. What I want to do is going to Bismarck. I want to work for the people of my district and the people of my state and work to make this a better place. One way that you can see I've already been doing that is by going door to door. We've been hitting the doors hard. I've talked to hundreds of people, been able to hear the issues, and on every single card I've handed out that has my phone number and email, and I'd love to hear what you think. So as someone who's connected with the people, someone who has been in the community, I've lived in this community for almost 17 years. I want to go to Bismarck to represent you to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Brad?
Well, I'm at the end of my career with what I do for a living, and I'm looking forward to retirement, and I'm not looking forward to a career in politics. But I am willing to serve a few years, maybe a couple of terms, in the State House. I do not want to become a career politician. I've had lots of business background. I know how to solve problems. I know how to get things done. I do it every single day. And I know how to interact with people, and I know how to read bills and laws, and I understand the ins and outs of government overall. I will support the constitutions of the United States and the state of North Dakota. I will listen to the people of this district, and I will do what's best for the people of this district and listen to their concerns, and especially those that have to do with their property taxes, their income taxes, and I've promised never to vote for a bill that will raise taxes on the people of my district or in the state of North Dakota.
Liz?
Thank you. And thank you to the League. You guys rock. It's great. So wishing for change doesn't make it happen, and that's why I'm running. North Dakota is falling behind when we're up against other states. Last year, 4,000 people left our state, despite our population growing for a decade before that. And we had 30,000 jobs, and yet they're leaving. North Dakotans' well-being should be the priority of our legislature, and it would be my priority. We need quality education, improved access to health resources, women's access to reproductive health, and incentives to address climate change. I'm committed, I'm capable, and I care. And by seeing you all here, I'm optimistic because you care as well. I believe North Dakota can be very legendary again, and I would very much appreciate your support.
Gretchen?
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley for hosting this evening. Thank you very much. I think this is a great opportunity for voters to get to know the candidates that they'll be voting for, or maybe already have voted for with mail-in voting. It's been an honor to work for the people of District 11 since 2016, and I very much hope to continue to do that work. Over the years, I've taken the phone calls and responded to the emails, visited with people at the doors, and worked on various different issues. Part of being an elected official is not just writing bills and voting on bills. There's a lot of constituent casework that goes along with it as well, things that you don't necessarily get recognized for. And that's part of the work that I love to do the best, is being a servant for the people that I work for. And so I'd like to thank the people of District 11, and I hope to continue to work for them.
Thank you. And let's get everybody give a round of applause, but then feel free to ask them more questions. We'll take a few minutes here and set up for the next forum.
We made it.
Good evening again. My name's Barb Hedrick from the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley, and I'll be moderating this candidate forum for District 21 Senate candidates. And we want to thank the City of Fargo for providing the lovely accommodations in the City Commission chamber, and also for streaming this candidate forum live and recording it for playback on the city's Fargo Government PEG TV channel, Fargo 56. And the recording will also be posted on the League of Women Voters Red River Valley Facebook page and on our YouTube page. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We work to encourage informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of major policies issues and influence public policy through education and advocacy. If you'd like learn more about the League, please visit our website or on Facebook or talk to one of the volunteers here tonight. The League of Women Voters sponsors these candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. As a nonpartisan organization, we do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views you will hear expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters will post complete unedited recordings of the forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan or political purposes. We will, with only 2 candidates, we will get as many questions as we can in, so please keep asking the questions. We do have a number of questions been submitted by members of the public who've been attending these forums that we will go through. But if you've got a new question you would like to ask, please do so. We'll get that into the top of the pile. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions. They'll also have 1 minute for an opening statement and a closing statement. And so when the time runs out, you'll hear an obnoxious buzzer. Please go ahead and finish your thought. It's a little difficult over the buzzer, but it can be done. All right. So with that, we will begin an opening statement with Kathy Hogan.
Thank you. Thanks to the League and to the city for hosting this. This is a great opportunity to discuss public policy. My name is Kathy Hogan, and I'm the current senator in District 21, and I'm privileged to serve with Lori Beth Hager and Mary Schneider, and we've been a team for a long time. 21 is a district with strong neighborhoods. We have Hawthorne and Jefferson and Madison, and now we've actually moved into West Fargo with the Meadowbrook Park area in that area. And the thing I love about our district is the fact that they almost feel like small towns. They each have their own flavor, and it's a beautiful district. In visiting with the people at the doors, I'm hearing a lot about concerns about mental health, child care is a crisis, property taxes, inflation, housing costs are really pushing people to the edge, and crime. These are all areas that I've worked with extensively over the past 13 years, but things have changed. Thank you. We need to protect our resources, both financial and natural. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, is it Klobeck?
Very good. I'm Bill Klobeck. I'm running for Senate as the Republican in 21. I've lived here for approximately 30 years again. I was born just down the street at St. Luke's. I'm a walker, so I walk around the district quite a bit and see what the various problems and things are. I'm not sure exactly what the state has to do with the discussions that go on with a lot of this, but I agree. I think that crime, energy, mental health, affordable housing are top priorities for 21. We're the most diverse district in the entire state, and sometimes we're not getting the resources that we might use in the city level to ameliorate some of these problems. I think I could probably work as well, or perhaps better, with the Republican majority to achieve some of these goals.
Thank you. First question for you, Bill. What makes you the most qualified candidate in this race?
I don't know if I'm the most qualified. I just think I've got a pretty independent way of thinking about things, and I'm a pretty good collaborator. And again, it's a majority of Republicans. We're kind of a pocket of Democrats, which is great. But in order to get things done, sometimes you have to work. Sally's worked with the majority on a number of these things and knows exactly how to get things done too. But it would just be a different voice at the table. She's done a great job.
Thank you, Kathy.
During the legislature, I have really been privileged to serve on all but 3 of the legislative standing committees. I got moved from committee to committee. So it broadened my experience from natural resources and transportation, agriculture. And so I have had the privilege of really serving on many different kinds of committees. My area of expertise, of course, is human services, because for 40 years I worked starting really as a case aide on the floors at the state hospital and ended up being the director of Cass County Social Service for 18 years. So I know how systems work, and I provide technical expertise. As Bill said, I have worked across the aisle very extensively, and most people don't realize that almost 80% of our votes are unanimous because we do work together. And there's a myth that we disagree a lot. And so I think compromise is one of the things I bring.
Thank you. This question will start with you, Kathy. Please explain to us how governing differs from running a business. Does experience in one automatically qualify you to do another? And I assume they mean running for business going into government.
Thank you. I think there are differences in terms of the outcome, because businesses are primarily designed to make money, and governments are primarily designed to provide service. And I think whether it's roads and bridges or highway patrol or law enforcement, government's target is public service for all people. And a business often is focused on making a profit or building a product. And the authority, I think many people in business have trouble getting used to the idea that we have to come to consensus, and that it's a process that's quite different in management. I think it's good to have people with lots of different kinds of background. I like working with the farmers. I like working with the business people, to have healthcare providers, to have lawyers. The broader we have involvement, the better quality of work we do in government. And that's why I think we need a diverse legislature.
Thank you. Bill?
Exactly, and a citizen government that rotates occasionally. I've been self-employed for most of my life, and the difference, I agree with you. However, the difference is that sometimes you have to be a little more innovative in how you're budgeting for things and know when to quit spending. So,
All right.
dot.
Okay. Along those same lines, starting with you, Bill, what do you believe is the primary role of government?
The most limited interference with people's ability to live their life as possible. Public safety, picking up the garbage, public health, defense. After that, I'm not really sure.
Kathy?
I agree with Bill that public safety, public health, core infrastructure. We have become a country where we assume we're going to have clean water and we're going to have roads that work, and that we're going to, when we turn the power on, that it works. And I think government helps do that. And oftentimes it's public-private partnerships, which I strongly support. But I think the role of government is to assure freedom, because freedom is a core principle in the Constitution, but also safety and the common good. And I would hope that as a country, we can assure that people have food to eat and a place to sleep. And I think sometimes we forget that those in many countries are not rights, but I hope in our country they are.
Thank you. Kathy, and both of you have been speaking about the bipartisan aspect of accomplishing goals for all North Dakotans. Can you please give specifics of how you would work to do that? And starting with you, Kathy.
Thank you. I've been doing legislative work way before I was in the legislature. In the 1990s, we worked on a revision of the TANF program when it was federally passed, and Senator Judy Lee and I worked extensively together on welfare reform. And beginning with that, I learned that most people don't come to the table as a Republican or Democrat. They just want to solve the problem. And so Senator Lee and I are sometimes called the Bobbsey twins because we try and do almost every bill we introduce together before we introduce it. And I think that technique of working at the ground level on issues to solve problems is the way to get to bipartisanship. And in committee work, this happens. We get to consensus on almost all our bills. That's why on the floor, often it doesn't end up in a nasty floor debate. And so I think people don't see that, but it does work.
Thank you. Bill?
North Dakota legislature is somewhat interesting, different than the national legislature in that you can propose legislation from the Senate to cross over and all different mechanics. So it's a little different than Rich Warder, who's the chairman of the Republicans and the head of the Senate, is retiring this year, so we don't know who our guy is going to be at this point. And I'm pretty capable of working with a variety of leadership on any number of issues.
Thank you. Next question, starting with you, Bill. Homelessness is a growing problem in North Dakota, particularly for members of our indigenous community. What can the legislature do to deal with this problem?
The Democrats once had a program called CCC. I don't know if that would work anymore. We've got jobs that need to be done. People need to be motivated. Again, I'm not sure it's the government's job to do that. I agree no one should starve or be completely homeless, but maybe we've over-regulated the market so that you can't rent an apartment for under $500 in Fargo without a grounded outlet. And I don't know if there's any state solution to that, but you know, we have to make accommodations for people. I remember the people that would live in the basement of the buildings that had steam heat because at least it was warm in the winter. We had a power plant here in Fargo for years that burned a North Dakota resource. I don't know anyone that ever had soot in their eye or any breathing problems from a clean new coal plant or a different energy source. So I think providing cheap, effective heat would be a great thing for our northern climate.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, homelessness is a growing problem. We have about 1,200 homeless people a night in this community at this point in time. The demonstrated thing that works is providing supportive, low-income housing for people. And there's two pieces. First, you have to have housing first, because until people feel safe and are fed and are warm, and it doesn't have to be fancy, it can be simple, but housing first and then have support services. Because if you've been homeless, you often have major financial issues, you often have health issues, you have mental health issues, and many of the homeless people, actually in some places as many as 40% of homeless people are working and they have jobs, but they can't get through the days because they're sleeping in their cars or oftentimes with friends. So we need to prevent evictions as much as possible because it's harder once you've lost your apartment to get back in, prevent issues, provide housing first and supportive services.
Thank you, Kathy. Would you support, we start with you again, would you support a carbon tax on greenhouse gas emissions in North Dakota?
Carbon and the environment is such a complex area of governance. I spent the day at the Energy Committee today, and it was like overwhelming. I'm not certain that a carbon tax in North Dakota would be effective. I think at the national level that could be, but that might be a layer of government question. I think we need to do really aggressive work to address carbon emissions. And so I think some carbon capture may be appropriate. I think we have done major work on renewables, particularly wind, and then transmission issues. Today we learned about a project where you're going to have small hydrogen plants that can serve a hospital or a safety net. I think we need to have an all of the above approach to energy stability because our energy system is in crisis.
Thank you. Bill?
Hydrogen fuel cells, good idea. We're trying to get set now for the carbon sequestration pipeline. We're gonna be the repository for a 6-state area if they get all the permitting going. We're the leader in the nation in both clean energy production. We've got hydro, the silly wind thing that Minneapolis made us do, basically. And then we got to pay to build the corridor for the power to go down there. We have a lot of resources that we should continue to deploy. A carbon tax is probably not a great idea.
Thank you. This one, we start with you, Bill. Does public education in North Dakota work? And what needs to change? And does that change include the legislature acting to address the teacher shortage?
Well, I think it works mostly. It's interesting that the kids out in Golden Valley all have straight A's and full scholarships. We just have a problem over here where we have a little different mix of people. And, the legislature tried to help out the city of Fargo with the tax issue, and they gave the money to Fargo, and they just went ahead and spent it again. And so our taxes went up again. I think we've got a pretty good education system, a great college system. Kirsten Biesler's done a good job. I think she gives a lot of support to the teachers. Shortage of teachers, pay them more.
Thank you. Kathy?
Thank you. I really believe that public education is the foundation of a good democracy. We need to support public schools with better pay and benefits. Teachers are really struggling right now because our children have so many needs in the classroom. But we need citizens who know how to think. They need to have skills like math and writing. And if we're going to have a stable society, we need to have a strong public education system. I'm concerned about the culture wars and the attacks on things like critical race theory, which really isn't being taught. Those attacks demoralize teachers, and sometimes they do not feel supported. And because it's not a high-paying profession, most people who are doing it are truly committed to the children. And I think without a strong public education system, we won't be able to meet all of the workforce needs we have today and in the future. So I'm a strong supporter of everything related to public education.
Kathy, I think we started, both of you got that one, right? Yes. I got too many things in my head already.
It's hard with two of us.
Kathy, we start with you on the next one. A major barrier to home ownership is more than just prices. Property groups buying up homes, driving prices up, and leaving fewer homes available to buyers. What are your thoughts on this?
This is an interesting question because I've heard it in a couple of neighborhoods, including in our neighborhood. People are concerned, and actually I did some research on them. And in the one block where there were 3 homes bought up, and they thought they were turning them into rentals. In the end, they just remodeled them and put them back on the market. So I think as a community, we need, this I think is an example of a local control issue. I think the local control should look at that, and I'm not sure it's a legislative issue, but I think it's happening in Fargo, and I think the local government should be involved in doing that.
Bill?
It's one of those things, where are you gonna put your money?
Yeah.
Apparently real estate in Fargo is still pretty good investment, and outside interest groups are gonna, we have an anti-corporate farming law. You can't own dirt if you're not a resident, but we don't have it for residential housing. I don't know if there's a easy legislative solution to it. If someone had come up with an equitable idea, I'd be certainly willing to consider it, but
Yeah.
Who's to differentiate between an out-of-state greedy corporation and Doug Burgum?
Next question, we start with you, Bill. What will you do to protect the human rights of LGBTQ plus North Dakotans, especially trans people?
I would think they'd fall under the same auspices and laws as everybody else, treat them exactly the same.
Kathy?
Thank you. I think we have seen pretty clear discrimination for LGBT and trans in employment, in housing, and because they're not protected classes, they don't have any place to go. And I know we have introduced bills for maybe 6 or 8 sessions. I'm looking for a colleague. It's been 6 or 8 sessions. And they don't have protected status like age or race. And I think discrimination still happens with this group. And I think we as a state should try to protect vulnerable people who are treated differently simply because of who they are.
Thank you. Next question, we start with you, Kathy. What are the priorities Fargo needs represented most in the coming legislative session?
Oh, that's fun. Well, my first is childcare. I'm pretty adamant about behavioral health and childcare, and I think in terms of childcare, I have outlined with a group of childcare providers 4 specific steps. I have a comprehensive plan because I'm compulsive. Those of you in the audience know that. We need to increase childcare assistance to low-income families. We need to establish a childcare grant program that will directly pay the childcare provider who's licensed for their desired capacity so that they can pay their employees regularly. And it's a base, almost a formula-like payment for childcare providers. We need to expand and support targeted early childhood programs for 4-year-olds. A 4-year-old in most of the state who's income eligible for Head Start gets served, but doesn't get served in Fargo because there's not enough payment. I think we need to target early childhood education.
Bill?
The city leaders are pretty good in their lobbying efforts with the legislature to let them know what their current topics are. Again, clean water, cheaper energy. Can we figure out what to do with the Milt Young power plant and turn that into a clean coal plant so we can have cheap electricity? Figure out what the housing issue is interesting, and the high-rise comes to mind as an example of a federal public-private partnership that has gone to hell, basically, and all those people were displaced. And now they can't figure out how to implode the building because someone let a building permit to a building right next door. It seems a little absurd. The towers are still up there, so we need a safe environment. This fentanyl thing is just wrecking us. It's worse than the crack cocaine epidemic or the methamphetamine, which is still around. It wrecks people forever and kills them. And again, I'm not really sure what the state has to do with it, but we should be helping.
Thank you. Next question, we start with Bill. What is your position on reproductive rights, and what role do you think the legislature should play in addressing them?
Not much.
Is that all?
Yeah, I think so. I have a child and I like kids, but I'm not really sure what the legislature had their law. I'm fully cogent and aware of my body, my choice. I wish that would have applied during the COVID freak out, but, and I'm sure there's exceptions, and I would think that that would be in the individual and the eyes of their God and their doctor. And I'm not sure that I'm comfortable telling other people what to do because I'm pretty contrarian in that regard myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks. Writing laws on any medical practice is extremely concerning to me because of the risk of limiting the authority of doctors to comply with their Hippocratic oath to do no harm, particularly in situations of the life of the mother or rape. I think we could drive many healthcare providers out of the state. Health privacy has been strictly regulated, and I'm concerned that with the changes in particularly the trigger sections of some of the laws that will criminalize abortion, we are going to lose the right to basic healthcare privacy. And I'm really concerned about this. I think, as Bill said, we've had a lot of fights about healthcare freedom in the last 2 years. We don't want mask mandates, we don't want vaccine mandates, but we will force a 10-year-old who's a rape victim to have a baby.
Thank you. Start with you, Kathy. What are your views on legalizing marijuana in North Dakota and why?
Well, I voted against the last two bills that were introduced, and during the last hearing, the people who wrote this initiated measure listened to every one of our concerns and they addressed them. And the measure as it is right now for adult use marijuana, I think, is a well-done measure. It establishes clear standards for safety, how marijuana will be sold and regulated to protect it. And I think we are using marijuana right now. And so I think legalizing it makes sense because then we tax it and we get it out of the shadows. And so I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm going to support the measure. Because I've opposed the last two because they were so many holes in them. But this one I think is a really well done, and I commend the people who wrote it.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. I think it's a decrim, not necessarily a legalization. It's a little semantic difference.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't need any more drug dealers in our community. The previous medical marijuana law had an unintended consequence of concentrating these facilities. And I think, what did they spend? $4 million, and they had to have $1 million bond and the seed to sale thing. And there's 4,000 people with cards, so that's $10,000 a card for medical marijuana in North Dakota. And they're all out-of-state corporations, so I would guess they're engaged in corporate farming, which we have a constitutional ban on. So, exactly. The previous weed laws were terrible. This guy's, at least they got it together. North Dakota's the home of the NPL and the referenda. We have the easiest referenda out there. Maybe it's time.
Thank you. Next question, start with Bill, and this is about the other initiative on the ballot. What are your views on term limits for the North Dakota Legislature and why?
Well, who was the gal from Minot that served for 432? Brunhilde. You know, if your constituents are happy with you, that's fine. If constituents are happy with Sally, they keep voting her in. I don't think you need to have term limits per se it's hard enough to get people to do this job anyway, and then to add too much to it. And it takes a little bit of experience, as you say. You've had some experience. My dad was the Speaker of the House for 12 years. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, you keep talking to people and you train in new people to how, again, it's a lot of mechanics and procedure to get this stuff done. I think in the city we should have it, but I'm not so sure about in the state.
Kathy?
Yeah, I think people don't realize that legislature serves up to 80 days every 2 years. So in an 8-year term, if we were limited to 8 years, we would only work a total of 320 days, which is about 1 year of work. It takes a long time to learn the process of the legislature and the content of the bills. I think my big concern is this is going to be a transfer of power and authority from the legislative policy branch to the executive branch, because you won't have that institutional knowledge. And it takes a long time to get that institutional knowledge so that you can speak up. And if we turn over all the time, we turn over 25% every single term anyway, so there's a lot of turnover. But I think this is really a transfer of power and authority from the legislative branch to the executive branch, and so I'm strongly opposed to it.
Next question, we start with you, Kathy. Finding adequate child care is a problem in North Dakota. How should the legislature address this issue?
I think the child care issue is because funding is not adequate. So I have 4 principles. We have to expand the level of reimbursement for low-income families because they want to work, but they can't afford to. And one of the things is to eliminate co-pays. People with very little impact still have to sometimes pay $30 a month, and they're struggling with that. We have to establish a child care grant program to subsidize child care providers, and they have to be licensed. We want quality work, but I think similar to the foundation aid program that may cover 20 or 25% of the cost is a model that's being used in some states. I really support targeting early childhood education programs because I think the best-in-class program, Head Start programs, know they work. And if we had programs for all 4-year-olds, it would be good. And we need to simplify the licensing process.
Thank you. Bill?
I think that 1 to 5, the mother is the best teacher. I think we should spend more money on voc schools and making sure that other people can have enough money to be able to do that when they have young kids around the house. You need to provide the safety net for people, but we've got our community has a pretty good breadth of it. I don't know, I'd have to see some more information on what we could spend that would have some efficacy in it. I don't think it's the state taking over the ward of the children or anything, but they're only little once in 1 through 5, and then they're off at school, and before you know it, they're out of college working somewhere, and it happens so fast.
It does.
Little balance.
Thank you. Bill, the next question start with you. Do you support charitable gaming in North Dakota?
We had a party every year called the Charity Ball, and we gave all the money that we ever made to the North Dakota Mental Health Association. We did that
I
for,
went to that.
yeah, everybody did. We had it for 25 years. It was a great deal. So, yeah, gambling. Nobody ever tells you about how much they lose gambling, and gambling addiction can be a problem. And I think we have some resources for it. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but it's all right.
Kathy?
Philosophically, I'm opposed to using gaming both for taxes and for charities. In North Dakota, it's sad because we really have become dependent on charitable gaming. And the expansion of gaming over the last 4 years has significantly hurt the tribal gambling because of the complex federal rules they have to follow that we don't apply in North Dakota. I'm concerned about gambling addiction and appropriate treatment services because I think we have an increase in this because of the increased availability. So everybody knows I always vote against gaming bills, but I do like to gamble. Kirsten.
Thank you. Kathy, this will be our last question. We'll start with you. What will you do to prevent gun violence in our state? And would that include any common sense gun laws such as red flag legislation?
Thank you. I think I was a strong supporter of, we had red flag laws in at least 2 sessions ago, and I was a strong supporter of those. Because I think what we know of the violence, particularly in domestic violence situations, and with people with serious mental health issues, guns are often used. And oftentimes people who are victims say, we knew he was going to do this. And if we had a due process so that if my ex-husband came after me and was threatening me, I could go to the court and say, I don't think he should have a gun. He needs due process. He needs a judicial process. But I think we need red flag laws very strictly. I think I personally believe in licensing guns because we license people to drive cars. I think guns are equally important to have regulation. It's a really complex issue.
Thank you. Bill?
The right to bear arms shall not be infringed.
Okay. Is that it? I just want to make sure you're not pausing for effect.
Well, it's a pretty simple premise.
All right. This concludes our question and answer portion of this forum. We want to thank all the candidates for participating. We thank the members of the audience for presenting questions. Thank all of our league volunteers for helping out in the city of Fargo, including the city employee who's running the cameras and microphones for us. And for all of you both here and watching this later, please visit the League of Women Voters Voters Guide, which we are co-sponsoring with Forum Communications. It's called vote411.org. This provides answers to questions we've submitted to candidates across the state, in races across the state, as well as an explanation on each of the ballot initiatives on the statewide ballot. And if any of you candidates have not yet submitted your answers, please give me an email and I will get you the access so you can do so. And this voter's guide is also available through any Fargo Forum Communications news website. That when you see their voter's guide, the link that you are going to is to the vote41.org system. You can also find it on the through the League Facebook page. So we'll start with closing statements, and Bill, you get to go first.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters and the City of Fargo for sponsoring this forum. Thank you, Sally, for all of your hard service over the years. Folks, for coming out. 12% of our district voted in a city and primary this June when we have early voting, mail-in voting, Dropbox vote, and you can vote from your bed practically. 12%. The city. The people that really spend your money, the school board, civics. Let's get rid of this fentanyl in our community. I think that would straighten things out. And I think we know where it is. People live next door to these places. It's the red flag law. You could call the cops and say they're dealing drugs next door. Yeah. Thank you for your support if you're going to support me.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. And it's been fun to spend the hour with my friend Bill here because we like each other. And so that's also nice. And really for the opportunity to discuss complex issues and the needs of the people of 21. Like you said, we have a very distinct district. Public service is not easy. I really appreciate every single person who has stood up to serve at all levels of government, because government really is only as good as the people we elect. I commit to listening to everyone, to working with my colleagues respectfully, to find the best solutions we can possibly find. And I really invite you to come to Bismarck and spend a day with us so that you can see how it works. We have a legislative process that does work, although it's a better bipartisan if we had more balance between Democrats and Republicans, but that's a dream we have. And so I'd appreciate your vote and come and visit.
Thank you, and let's all give the candidates a great round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll take another brief break and set up for our last forum for the evening, District 27.
Good evening. And thank you to all the candidates for joining us for candidate forums hosted by the League of Women Voters. My name is Amy Phillips. I will be your moderator for this forum. This forum is being live streamed and also recorded for playback on the City of Fargo's government PEG TV channel, TV Fargo 56. This recording will also be posted on the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley Facebook page and on its YouTube page. The League of Women Voters posts complete, unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. We want to thank the City of Fargo for providing the space and technical assistance for this evening's event. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in government and works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences public policy through education and advocacy. If you would like to learn about the League, please visit our website, LWV of the Red River Valley, or find us on Facebook, or you can talk to any of the volunteers that are here tonight. The League of Women Voters sponsors candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. As a nonpartisan organization, the League does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. Before we begin, I'd like to review the rules and procedures. Questions have been submitted in advance by the public on index cards for this event. Questions may have been screened for clarity or combined with similar questions. All candidates will be given an opportunity to address each question. Our candidates participating tonight are from the District 27 State Senate race. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their opening remarks. Each will then be allowed 1 minute to respond to each question. At the conclusion of the Q&A period, candidates will be given another 1 minute for their closing remarks, 1 minute each. A timer, this is our timer over here, will indicate how much time is remaining and will indicate when your time is done. When you hear the buzzer, that means your time has expired. Please complete your sentence or thought so that we may move on to the next candidate or question. We will begin the 1 minute opening statement now, starting first with Sonia. Thank you.
First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum so we can potentially discuss important issues such as affordable housing, affordable childcare, teacher retention, and an outdated energy system. We don't have time for legislation rooted in fear or misinformed stances. We don't have time for false solutions to our energy crisis. We need people like myself who has a history of studying sustainability issues, talking with people, and organizing group efforts. I am in touch with the people of our district and am running to stand up for the everyday person of North Dakota. My priorities include meeting the diverse needs of families, appropriating funds for the benefit of the people, and bringing our energy economy into the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen.
Thank you. Kristen Roars. I am the current state senator for District 27. I'm a nurse in my day job, and that is something that I carry through into my legislative work as well. One of the biggest things facing all of our businesses in this state is workforce, and that's something that I want to work towards in this next legislative session to try and find solutions. We know that we cannot solve our own problem with the bodies we have in North Dakota today. So how do we make North Dakota the most attractive place for people from other states, but also other countries to come here and work and make North Dakota a better place to live? We need to work on our economy. Inflation right now is affecting everybody's daily life. We also know that childcare is affecting both people's quality of life, but also their ability to participate in the workforce. And then our mental health crisis is one of the biggest things that we really need to work on, whether that's in our schools or in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ruth Buffalo, and I am a enrolled citizen of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. I am originally from Mandaree, which is located on the western side of the state, in a small rural community called Mandaree. My husband, Brian, and I are small business owners, and we are the proud parents of 4 intelligent and talented children. I'm also a community advocate and a public health professional, and it has been a great honor, absolute honor and privilege to be one of the State House representatives elected and to serve the people of North Dakota in District 27 these past 4 years. Never would I have imagined leading and being called to serve during a global pandemic. There's so much that I have learned and so much that has been bright light has been shown on a lot of existing issues that we already knew prior to the pandemic, including childcare issues, workforce issues, access to healthcare, behavioral health issues. It would be a great honor to continue serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Hi, my name is Thomas Gassler, and I grew up just outside of Williston, in a small town called Beaufort, North Dakota. I moved to Fargo to go to school at NDSU, where I met my wife, Sierra, and we've been married for 10 years, and we have 2 children, Cameron and Quinn. I got into this race because I believe that politics are personal, and the things that you want to see happen, whether in Bismarck or in our district, that we should be able to roll up our sleeves and get those things done, childcare and inflation and all of these different things. I have work in a pest control in my day job, and with that, I've been allowed to really be able to solve problems in weirdly different ways, and so I hope I can take that experience to Bismarck. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh?
Thank you, Amy. Thank you to the League for hosting this event. Appreciate to be here tonight. Share a little bit about myself and my background. I'm an entrepreneur and small business owner. Work in the technology space. Married with 3 young children down in the Deer Creek neighborhood. And I'm running today to make sure that we keep our district, our state, one of the best areas to raise a family, one of the best areas to start a business. And there's huge infrastructure needs that are happening within our district, as well as we all know, childcare, schools. There's a lot going on in our district. I'm sure we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of that here tonight. So thanks for having me. I look forward to the conversation.
Okay, thank you. And Greg?
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. My name is Greg Steaman. I'm a serving representative in District 27 at this point in time. And I'm originally from Dickey, North Dakota. I graduated from Lemoore High School, grew up on a family farm, and have resided in Fargo for a little over 3 years. I was appointed to replace Thomas Beadle when he won the state treasurer election. And I can tell you this, I had an opportunity to serve on the State Board of Higher Education for about 3.5 years. It was a great honor. But outside of being a father to a wonderful 18-year-old daughter, I've never been more honored than to serve the citizens of District 27 and the citizens of North Dakota in the State House of Representatives. And I look forward to earning your vote as we move forward, and I look forward to dealing with the issues that have been discussed, a variety of them, and I know they'll all be discussed this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those opening statements. We now move on to audience questions. And the first question of the evening, which is going to go to Kristen first, is, what makes you a qualified candidate in this race?
It's funny how the most generic question is sometimes the hardest to answer. I would say that there's a few things. Number one, my relationship building skills, I would say, is one of the things that has stood out the most to my colleagues in the legislature, but also in our district. I think that I have done a good job of staying in contact with our constituents, but also making sure that I have good relationships on both sides of the aisle, but then also both chambers. I think that to be an effective legislator and to be able to speak on behalf of Fargo, when sometimes it's Fargo versus the world out in Bismarck, is something that you need to be able to be that voice that people go to, someone they know that they can listen to and know that they can trust the answers that they get from them.
Thank you. Ruth?
I believe I am the best candidate for one of the State House representative seats because I am a lifelong North Dakotan. I understand our communities, and I have a strong sense of the pulse of what happens within our communities, more from the community up rather than the top down. I am a great collaborator, and I am not selective in my relationships within the state capitol. I am open to building relationships across the aisle. In fact, in our state legislature, you have to work across the aisle. The Democratic Nonpartisan League Caucus is but a very small sliver of representation within the state legislature. My lived experience and unique background, I have a bachelor's of science in criminal justice. I have 3 different master's degrees, one in management, business administration from the University of Mary, and a master of public health from NDSU. I believe in finding upstream solutions that are very inclusive of all people. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
I'm qualified because I believe I can break down barriers. I'm able to talk to people of all stripes, come to common sense solutions with people, be able to talk to people about the needs that they have, whether it's, infrastructure, childcare, different things like that, and making sure that I can use their input to make sure that we can kind of work together.
Thank you. Josh?
As a small business owner, I get to see a lot of different adversity, different challenges that we're faced with, from workforce development through to hiring and training, really everything that goes along with owning a business. And I feel like I have the leadership capability to adequately represent our district for the needs that it has currently. I'm looking forward to the opportunity if I am so lucky to be elected on November.
Thank you. Greg?
I appreciate the opportunity to go to the state legislature and actually be a listener. And I think that's one of the things that I'm able to bring is I don't necessarily have to go out there and insinuate that I have all the solutions, because there are a lot of innovative ideas and a lot of opportunities to listen to a lot of different ideas and find out what the best solution is. Our priorities change from session to session. And we might think that we know what the priorities are, but when we get out there, the priorities might be different because this is the world we live in. And I think it's important to be able to listen, sit back, digest all the information, and then have discussions about what the best solution is moving forward. And that is one of the neat things about our state legislature, is that the system works well in committees. We're able to vet things, and more often than not, we come out with quality legislation. So that's what I believe I bring.
Thank you. Next question will go to Ruth.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sonia. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I am well educated. I have numerous life experiences that are common to a broad spectrum of people in our district. I seek to understand by doing research, asking questions, and taking extra coursework when relevant. I am the only candidate speaking out against the ridiculous carbon capture proposal called Project Tundra. Project Tundra is unsafe, insanely expensive, increases CO2 emissions, decreases efficiency, and raises your tax burden. Equally important, I listen to the experiences and needs of the people, and I am ready to synthesize all that I have learned to find a way to accommodate the needs of the people.
Thank you. Next audience question goes to Ruth first, and that is, please explain to us how governing differs from running a business. Does experience in one automatically qualify you to do another well?
So as a small business owner and as someone who did not grow up in a household that was familiar with either party, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, from what I know and my experience and what I have learned, the government works for the people. The government needs to serve the people. Whereas with a business, you are targeting a certain type of customer. And so to me, there's a stark difference between government and business. again, the government must and needs to work for the people, and businesses target their specific audience and customers. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
I believe that if you have with small business, you can use some of those skills for governance. You know, as a small business, working for a small business, I always try to put the needs of the people first with whatever I'm doing, and trying to get people to where they need to go, you know, if elected, would just, I believe that we can, just go on. Thank you.
Okay. Josh?
There are definitely some parallels. I haven't served in Bismarck before, so I can't speak to what it is out there, like Kristen or Greg or Ruth are able to do. However, there's some skill sets that are developed by running a business. You need to be able to listen to what's happening. You need to be able to break down the problem and understand how can you serve, whether it's your customers or your constituents. I'm there to listen. I'm there to learn. I'm there to put in the hard work. As our district continues to grow, it's really important that we elect leaders that are going to show up and put in the work, and I believe I'm the right person to do that.
Thank you. Greg?
You know, there are some similar characteristics, and I think when it comes to being an effective member of a political body or being an effective business leader, I think leadership skills matter. And I think there's similarities there. But when it comes to who you are accountable to in private business, you're accountable to shareholders. You're accountable to what's the bottom line. In politics, you're accountable to the people that we work for, the people that we represent, and the people that we serve. And therein lies, I think, a major difference. But I do believe that there are skill sets of both aspects that allow you to be successful in being able to pass effective legislation. But it's very important that we don't confuse the two, because oftentimes in business, you're going to do what the CEO says you do. And in politics, it's important that we do what's best for the people that we represent, what's best for the people of North Dakota, what's best for the people of District 27.
Thank you. Sonia?
I think there are skills of business leaders that can certainly transfer to the government, but I believe the goal of a business is to make profits. The goal of government is the safety and the good of the people, and also to levelize the playing field so everybody has a decent shot in life.
Thank you. Kristen?
Thank you. Not to repeat a lot of what the people have previously answered, I think there's two additional things. I think scale is one of the biggest things that's different between running a business and governing. The scale of the decisions that you're making affect so many more people when you're looking at the whole of the state, the whole of a community, rather than an individual business. And I think making sure that we think in those perspectives is something that's very important. And the second thing is that we need to make sure that in government, we are not picking the winners and losers. We are setting that level playing field. We're setting the rules of the road, and then the businesses can come in and try to find a way to make it the best they can for their business. And I think those are kind of the two distinct things that I didn't hear specifically mentioned that I wanted to add.
Thank you. Next question from the audience is going to Tom first, and that is specifically, how will you work on a bipartisan basis to accomplish goals for all North Dakotans?
Well, running as a Democrat in North Dakota, you have to work across the aisle. There's, 14 in the House? And so wanting to do projects that are nonpartisan have been a big deal to my candidacy. Getting the universal hot lunch program back into North Dakota schools is a big priority for me. Making sure that we can get quality infrastructure into, not only Deer Creek, Horace, and Oxbow, but making sure that it's all over District 27. Making sure that childcare is affordable, that places can open up classrooms that are shut down because they don't have workers, making sure that we can kind of accomplish all of these goals that's good for the entirety of the community, not only in North Dakota, not only for 27, but everyone.
Thank you. Josh?
I think a lot of the candidates that are up here tonight want the same things. We want a safe a safe place to live. We want care for our children. We want to make sure that taxes are fair. And I think there's a lot that if we sit down and talk together and come to the point of this is about the constituents, this is not about me, this is not about anything other than how do we make District 27 the best place to live, grow a family. I think if we can come to that central point, there's gonna be a lot that we find that's in common with each other, and that we don't have to be divisive, we don't have to be against something. What can we be for?
Thank you. Greg?
I think Josh makes some very good points. At the end of the day, the majority of the representatives and senators in the state of North Dakota have much more in common than they have differences. Are there some lightning rod and specific issues that people love to divide people about? Without question. But at the end of the day, I think people agree with what makes North Dakota the amazing state that it is. And yes, to echo some of the sentiments, we want to continue to be business friendly. We want to continue to have safe schools. We want to continue to help out the underprivileged in a manner that allows them to not become dependent, but make gains. And so these things, much more unites us than what divides us. And I think in the chamber, I have great conversations with people across the aisle, and I have great respect for them. And there's no question that we can continue to work in a manner that allows both parties to be effective.
Thank you. Sonia?
In Bismarck, it doesn't matter if someone is a Republican or a Democrat. What matters is if they have a good idea. So let's focus on the merit of ideas instead of labels. Good communication is key. Poor communication leads to misunderstanding and can set off reactions that are misplaced. A good communication strategy is to identify the needs of the opposing parties and find a way to honor those needs while satisfying your own. I would also solicit testimony from people who the proposed legislation affects, because ignorance leads to poor policy, and you can't argue with someone's lived experiences.
Thank you. Kristen?
I believe that I'm known for being open to ideas, and I would tell you that many of my Democratic colleagues would actually say that I'm one of the first people in the Senate that they would go to with a different idea. Often we all agree on what the problem is. It's different ways to solve that problem is where we come at things. And I think that the more we can have those conversations, we can have those open dialogues, we can have great relationships across the aisle, the better legislation that comes out of it. I can tell you specifically one of my committees that it wasn't necessarily the partisan split, but the willingness to ask good questions that made a difference in policy.
Thank you. Ruth?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, if I can find it here.
I think it's basically.
How would you specifically work on a bipartisan basis to accomplish goals for all North Dakotans?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's so important, as I mentioned earlier, we are but a sliver of representation within the state legislature, so it is imperative that we work across the aisle. You absolutely cannot get anything done without working across the aisle. It has been an interesting experience for me so far in the state legislature. For example, my first legislative session in 2019, I was able to introduce 8 pieces of legislation, 7 of which passed, all bipartisan support and efforts. And then my second legislative session, which was during the pandemic, was really the complete opposite. And so I'm looking forward to less polarized times and better working across the aisle and less polarization within the halls of the state legislature. As the only Native American woman currently serving and woman of color, there have been challenges, and I hope that more diverse voices will join me in Bismarck. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from this audience goes to Josh. That question is, everyone will answer this one. The USDA voucher program ended for the 2022-2023 school year. Do you support state-funded universal hot lunch for K through 12 public schools?
I believe we need to look at a solution. During the pandemic, a lot of things changed, and the ability for children at school that couldn't get food otherwise were given breakfast and lunch. I think that's not acceptable when that's pulled out from underneath them. I do think we need to provide some sort of funding to help those that aren't able to afford those hot lunches, possibly breakfast as well, to make sure that our kids are taken care of. So I do support some sort of legislation to help our children make sure that they're taken care of nutritionally.
Thank you. Greg?
Thank you for the question. There are a number of factors that go into this. And first of all, you look at it, you're going to end the voucher program, and then we're going to end it at a time when food prices are at an all-time high in recent history. I think we have to mitigate that a little bit. I think we have to look at maybe some guidelines, free and reduced lunches. People who qualify for free and reduced, let's make sure they're still being taken care of. And maybe we bump that up a little bit because of the record inflation that we're experiencing. I think those are discussions that can take place. Right now, the state does have some surplus, and so you can look at maybe some one-time funding for a biennium that could allow us a 2-year cushion to absorb that, and maybe inflation gets back under control, and maybe we can get back down to that free and reduced lunch border that would allow us to maybe, make wise decisions financially. But I think it has to be something that, if we can't sustain it, it has to be a one-time funding and allow us 2 years to get back to where we need to get to.
Okay, thank you. Sonia?
I would support universal hot lunch, or I would also be willing to look at helping those students that fall through the cracks that maybe don't quite qualify for the federal reduced lunch program, but still are struggling at home.
Thank you. Kristen?
Thank you. I would like to echo a few things that have been said, and I think sustainable funding is one of the biggest things that we need to look at. We have so many proposals on the table right now for how we can use any of the surplus dollars we have, whether that be from the legacy fund earning, from any of the other funds that are out there. And I think that we have this tendency to think that we can be everything to everyone. And the biggest thing is I don't want to promise that, yes, this is the hill I'm going to die on, because I don't know what the other hills are yet. And so I think we need we do need to take a look at this. We need to understand what the problem is and find out what is that income threshold that should be and is it a graduated cliff where, rather than you either qualify or you don't, there's a way that you can qualify for kind of a portion of that coverage, so that we don't have people who are qualifying one day and the next day get nothing.
Thank you. Ruth?
I do, sorry, let me start over. I do support universal hot lunches. As I mentioned earlier, I believe the global pandemic definitely shined a bright light on existing issues. I firmly believe in finding upstream solutions and looking at the root causes. I believe supporting and funding universal hot lunches is only but a Band-Aid, and so we need to look further upstream and find comprehensive solutions. There is unfortunately a very large income gap or income inequality within the state of North Dakota, as well as regionally and across the country. So I believe that we do need to work further upstream to find long-term solutions. It's going to take longer than 2 years, but I definitely believe we need to find ways to support our working families. As we know, many families are just one family emergency away from being unhoused. So how do we find upstream solutions to continue supporting our working families? Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
I absolutely support the universal hot lunch program. Like was said earlier, it was a product of COVID that the USDA basically said, let's make sure that the child poverty or the people who are struggling with food insecurity doesn't go down. And it didn't at all during COVID. And then it went away at the beginning of this school year. I believe that we can find a solution to make sure that every kid in North Dakota gets not only breakfast, but also lunch. They're required to be there. Why can't we provide them with food? And it doesn't matter what their parents make. Those kids make $0. And so we can do something here in North Dakota to make sure that all kids get lunch. Simple as that.
Thank you. All right, our next question from the audience, we will start with Greg. And that is, a major barrier to home ownership is more than just prices. Property groups buy up homes, driving prices up and leaving fewer homes available to buyers. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you for the question, Amy. And there are a number of factors impacting this. First of all, I hesitate as a state government to jump into the free market and try to limit people's opportunities. What we're looking at right now is a rising interest rate environment where we got very accustomed to minimal level interest rates, which made home ownership extremely easy. Now, as we creep up, this becomes a little more difficult. And I think it comes down to, the financial planning aspect of things. It's hard for us as a state government to say that we need to make housing more affordable. That's really us limiting the free market. And I think that's a dangerous step to take because there are so many other areas that we become leaned on, so to speak, when somebody says, well, this isn't fair. I think it's going to be more difficult to own a home as interest rates continue to rise and as inflation continues to stay at record levels.
Okay, thank you. Sonia.
I think this is more of a local control issue and something that should be up to city planning. But I certainly am willing to study the possibility of legislation to address the problem.
Okay, Kristen.
I too struggle to see where the government's role in limiting businesses from buying land would be the best solution in this scenario. I think that that is a part of the system that we have. And if we think that that's not working, I think we need to understand a little bit better what is it that isn't working. One of the things that is a benefit of having larger developers developing larger pieces of land is the ability to do that centralized planning to make sure that we understand the needs of that community as it's being built rather than one individual on each block kind of changing the rules each time you do that. So I think we need to look and see what is the true problem here before we try and come up with the solution.
Thank you. Ruth.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. A major barrier to home ownership is more than just prices. Property groups buy up homes, driving prices up and leaving fewer homes available to buyers. What are your thoughts on this?
So from, going door to door since the middle of May, I spent 2 months in Horace, and as we all know, Horace is one of the most fastest growing towns in North Dakota. There are 5 different housing developments there currently. And what I've heard at the doors from homeowners is concern of different property groups receiving tax breaks, and also how there is an imbalance between current homeowners and special assessments and property taxes. And so it was interesting to me to hear at the doors that property groups and many people out there at the doors, from what I've been hearing across, District 27, is that there is an imbalance. And I've heard people, quote unquote, say, why are these big property groups, why are they getting tax breaks? So I think there is an opportunity to educate. It is a local issue, but at the same time, it does become our responsibility as state legislators to help improve the quality of life of the people within District 27.
Thank you. Tom.
Yeah, so how many of these apartments in town are going for more than a mortgage would be? Making sure that we can help people out, whether it's low-cost grant programs or some sort of loan programs through the Bank of North Dakota. We have those things available that we could do some real good for the constituents of 27 in North Dakota. When somebody pays $1,600 a month for a house that they could have bought and their mortgage could have been somewhere like $1,200. So making sure that we can get these people into these homes that they're already in. just making sure that, the state can help in some way, whether, like I said, low-cost loans or something like that.
Okay, Josh?
I also struggle to see where, at the legislature level, what we can be doing. I think it starts with city planning and local control. It doesn't help when interest rates have just skyrocketed out of sight. Housing prices have exploded for new builds because of cost of goods going up. Plus, I also feel that there are some programs out there. I think there's possibly through legislature the opportunity to expand some of the grant programs or things like that. But I do think that there's certain factors that at the legislature we may not be able to control, and is possibly better suited, with the city planning, the county planning.
Thank you. Okay, our next audience question will go to Sonia first. What is your position on reproductive rights, and what role do you think the legislature should play in addressing them?
Excuse me. Government has no place in making deeply personal decisions made in the healthcare clinics or in the bedrooms. Instead, we need to focus on giving doctors the respect and the license to do what they are trained to do, treat their patients in a way that brings the best physical and mental health outcomes. Legislators have no right regulating a woman's healthcare decision, especially legislators who have no compassion or understanding for the variety of life-threatening situations that women face, who will never experience the toll of a 9-month pregnancy or face the pain and suffering of a mother not able to provide for her children. In addition to healthcare concerns, supporting abortion bans is a full-on assault on women's ability to achieve economic stability and equality. The data shows that states with abortion bans have a lower female to male earnings ratio. And finally, in 2014, the people of North Dakota rejected an abortion ban as indicated by the personhood measure.
Thank you. Kristen?
As a lifelong Catholic, I am a pro-life candidate, and I'm unapologetically so. In my 4 years representing District 27, I have heard from far more of our constituents who are pro-life than are pro-choice. I think that the current laws that we have on the books, though, do need some work. I'm in favor of the exceptions that we currently have listed there, but they need to be switched to an exception and not an affirmative defense. We need to be very, very clear and concise in our language so that our healthcare providers are aware of what is and is not allowed and not have any gray area. We need to make sure that anybody who reads the language will interpret it in exactly the same way. And so I think the biggest thing is making sure that there is no room for interpretation, that we are clear, we are concise, and that we are consistent.
Thank you. Ruth?
Yes, I believe that the government should not interfere in deeply personal decisions like abortion, contraception, and IVF. Again, there was concern with the trigger ban that it'll put the lives and the health of pregnant people at risk because doctors will hesitate to treat emergency situations like ectopic pregnancies due to their legal jeopardy. But again, I do not believe that the government should interfere with a woman's right to choose how she seeks healthcare and what she chooses to do with her body.
Thank you. Tom?
I'm a big supporter of reproductive rights. I want to make sure that a woman's right to choose whatever healthcare choices they decide to make, that they get the same rights I get. I also want to make sure that, regarding abortions, getting things in there to understand not only those healthcare decisions, but making sure that we're taking care of people that, whether it's contraceptions, IVF, all of those things, that people are able to make those sorts of choice for themselves. Because, the last question, we're talking about government's role in housing, government's role in this. I mean, there's definitely things where government should be and shouldn't be, and this is one they should not be in.
Thank you. Josh?
The current state is, we do have a trigger law in place from 2007 that, as Kristen had said, the exceptions are in the life of the mother, rape or incest. I also feel that we need sound and descriptive language to not leave any gray area. I want to make sure that the doctors are well protected in those cases to not be charged with a major crime when they're trying to help their patient. My wife and I were having this conversation the other night, and we lost a child at the end of the second trimester. And the topic turned to if that was something to where she was having to choose. And I said, I would choose your life. And she said, I would choose the life of our son. And so I am pro-life. It's not an easy conversation to have. And as a husband and father of 3 daughters, that's my belief.
Thank you. Greg?
Thank you for the question. It's a very difficult topic to discuss. And I also am father of an 18-year-old daughter. And at 22 weeks, her mother and I, had to make a decision that we needed to have a process to save what we considered to be an unborn child, a life. And so I believe that the unborn children need a voice as well. And so I am pro-life. I am in favor of the exceptions, the rape, incest, welfare of the mother. And as difficult as these discussions can be, I just think it comes down to do you value that unborn child or not? And the last thing, I will echo the sentiments of my running mates, is that we have to clear up the language so that we do not put our healthcare providers in any type of jeopardy whatsoever. I think things have to be cleaned up. It has to be very, very black and white for our providers in order for the trigger law to be effective.
Thank you. I believe we have time for one more question from the audience before we move on to closing statements. And this one goes to Kristen first. What do you believe is the primary role of government?
Told you it's the generic ones that are the hard ones. The primary role of government is, for me, to set the rules and get out of the way. I think we have gotten to a place where we've tried to have the government be a little bit more than I believe it needs to be. So the lightest hand possible while maintaining safety and security for our residents.
Ruth?
I believe the role of the government is to work for the people and not for corporate interests. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
So I have this conversation with my mom quite often of what government can be. And her phrase that she always uses is what government is, what we can't do ourselves, we can do together. So, building roads and making sure that people have better lives is what the role of government is. It's to give you a hand up, not a hand out, making sure that we can do these things together, that our communities are better because of it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Josh?
I believe the government is there to serve the people. We're here to help build the infrastructure, make sure that our citizens have what they need, and as Kristen so eloquently stated, get out of the way.
Okay. Greg?
I'm going to go back to something my opponent said, Thomas. I agree with you. It's, what we can't do alone, we can do together. There are certain things that we need. If my house is on fire, I sure hope the fire department shows up. And if there's a crime being committed, I hope the police show up. And I want us to fund basic necessities in the proper manner. And I want us to fund infrastructure in an effective manner so that all citizens can benefit. And I'm also one of these people that sometimes when we have one party in control of one branch in DC and the other party in control of the other branch, I'm going, good. Maybe nobody will do anything right now. I would love to see less legislation introduced. And as my running mate also said, and Josh alluded to, I would love to see our role be to set people up to be successful on their own, guarantee equal opportunity, not necessarily guarantee equal results, but guarantee equal opportunity for everybody, and get out of the way and let our citizens be successful.
Sonia?
Government is supposed to serve the people, supposed to look out for the safety and the good of the people. It's supposed to levelize the playing field, and it should protect the people from corporate power It's very troubling what I'm seeing with carbon capture because these projects rely on 45Q tax credits, which basically serve the corporate interests and provide them with huge profits at the expense of the safety and the good of the people.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes the question and answer portion of this forum. Thanks to all of the candidates for participating. For the audience at home, if you'd like to continue learning more about your candidates, the League has partnered with Forum Communications to present the vote411.org Voters Guide. Everyone can go to that to learn more about North Dakota's candidates' positions on important issues. Stay tuned to the forum and the League Facebook page. The Voters Guide is live on vote411.org. We will now move into closing remarks from the candidates, and we will start with Ruth.
Thank you. It has been an absolute honor to be a State House representative within these past 4 years, and I would be honored to earn the people's vote to continue serving another 4 years. I will listen and continue to listen and get down in the trenches and work hard on your behalf. I will not give up, and I will continue to serve the people of District 27. Coming from a small rural community on western North Dakota, I had to work hard for everything that I have earned, and I believe in going straight through tough processes with courage and with a lot of love for my neighbors. And I think we need more compassion and empathy within the halls of the state legislature, and I will definitely bring this as a mother, as a big sister, and as a lifelong North Dakotan. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom.
I just want to say thank you to everyone up here tonight. And to the League of Women Voters. This is always it's very important to be able to talk about these issues in a respectful and wonderful manner. I really got into this race because I want to help people at the end of the day. I've sat at the kitchen table and wondered how I was going to pay daycare that week. And I've wondered on some of those times how am I going to afford my first house? How am I going to do these things? And I really think we have a shot here in North Dakota to make sure that we can help out and we can do those things. And, I'm just, I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Josh.
Thank you, Amy, for moderating. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, to my running mates, and to our competition. Thanks for being here tonight. It was a wonderful conversation. I hope I can garner your vote November 8th, and I promise I will work hard for you as a legislator. I will not be an absentee voter. I will be there in the trenches, working for you day in and day out. As our district continues to grow very rapidly, it's very important to elect leaders who will show up and do the job, and I believe I'm the right person to do that. So I hope I can garner your vote in November, and again, thank you all very much.
Okay, Greg?
Also, thank you, Amy. Thank you, League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley. I'm very appreciative for the opportunity. I thank my running mates. I thank our counterparts as well. Very interesting discussion this evening, and I think that's important. My dad's 85, my mom's 80. They live on the family farm, and Dad is my brother's best hired man, and he never asked for anything, but he earned everything. And Mom and Dad did that together, and that's what I love about North Dakota. I think that is the fabric of what North Dakota stands for. And I also know that District 27, I'm willing to bet at least your paycheck, Amy, that District 27 is the fastest growing district in the state. It really is. Horace is growing like crazy. South Fargo, Oxbow. There are many issues that we have to address, and I believe my running mates and I are best equipped to say, you know what, we're going to go out there and fight for District 27, not at the expense of the state, but for the citizens of District 27.
Thank you. Sonia?
Thank you to all who are participating tonight. I believe the people of North Dakota want a legislator who stays informed on issues affecting the state, who stays in touch with the people and speaks on their behalf. People expect legislators to make wise investments with their hard-earned tax dollars, investments that will benefit the people and not special interest groups. Like it or not, the world is changing. We need the courage to change with it. We are experiencing an unprecedented climate reality, and our economy is suffering for it. I have the wisdom and abilities needed to keep our state well-positioned in a changing economy. I understand the importance of doing background research and building policy based on real data. I believe the goal of a compassionate government is to help communities move forward into a sustainable future and a stable, healthy economy. I ask for your vote so we can implement the changes needed to move us forward.
Thank you. And Kristen.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who's here in the audience as well. We appreciate all of your questions, your presence. It's been an honor and a privilege to listen to, represent, and speak on behalf of my constituents. I'm proud to help create and execute the vision of a healthy and prosperous North Dakota, and it would be my honor to continue to do that for the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again to all of our candidates tonight, for the audience for being here, for the questions they submitted, especially to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum, and also for the City of Fargo for their assistance tonight. Thank you very much. It's all been well.